This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So I believe loop and some basic operation in Panda is very much required when you are creating a data or when you are making a data preparing a data for analysis. So that is important thing. And the third thing is the main topic of today's, that is how do we deal with missing values, under which we will study how we identify the missing values, and then how do we deal with the missing values, and also some of the theoretical concept behind the missing values. So this is the quick topic that we are going to cover in today's session. So we'll start with the quick revisions that we have done. So till now we have done the data types. What are the different data types? What are the different atomic data types that we have? We have discussed about the numpys. We have discussed about the pandas. Also, we have discussed the joining in pandas. We have discussed all the types of join: inner joint, outer joint, left and right joint in the pandas. So this was the topic broadly that we have covered in the first session. And the second session, what we have covered is we have covered iloc and lock. That is a part of panda, that is slicing and dicing of the pandas, or you can say that is a subsetting in the pandas. Also, we have done a data import and export in pandas with necessary checks. So that is also we have done. We have also see some basic plot under the pandas, and we have done the case studies. So any questions till now for the previous class that we have? We have. So if you have done the practice in the previous class, or you feel any conceptual doubt, you can we'll discuss that quickly before going forward. So if you don't have doubt, you can ping on the chat box so that we'll go ahead. So any doubt from the previous session? Okay, I have got a response from Sanjay that okay then. Okay, so I believe we don't have any doubt. So we'll quickly complete the that we are doing in the last session. So it is just kind of quick revision that we will do. Yeah. So and also I have uploaded the data set that we are going to use for today class in the same G Drive folder. So I just request you to download that data set that we are going to use for today's class. Okay, now what we are doing is we have this data set. This was exercise. This is how data set look like, and we are doing some questions on this. So we'll start with the questions where we have left this. This was the question. Let's start with this one. So yeah, so the question is, what is the name of the lowest paid person, including benefits? So what you need to do is you need to again find the name of the lowest paid person along with the benefits that that person is getting. So quickly give the answer on the chat box, or I will directly ask this question to someone. So yeah, I've got an answer from Hari. I've got an answer from Yatendri. Sorry. So this is the response that I've got from Yatin. So again, I'm not getting much response from other guys except Yatin. Okay, so the next question, Sanjay, you are going to do the next question. Okay, so in this case, what we are doing is we need to find the total pay benefit. We need to find what we are doing is we need to extract the entire row in which the total pay benefit is the minimum. That is the simple thing that we are doing in this case. So what we have done is first, as I explained, I have already explained in the last session. So first we extract the total pay benefit, then we calculate the minimum of total pay benefit. So first thing that we are doing is we are extracting total pay benefit out of that particular data set. Then we are extracting only the minimum value of that total pay benefit columns. Then what we are doing is we are comparing the total pay benefit with that particular minimum values. Okay, and then we are using this as an index to extract the data from the salary database. Right? So this is a simple concept that we are doing. Okay, so my next question is what was the average base pay for all employees per year? Okay, so Sri Vidya, you asked me for to ping the drive path. So Yatin, do you have the drive path? Can you ping it in the chat box? Yeah, thanks Yatin. Thanks. So Sri Vidya, you can download the data set that we will use for today's class from this particular location. So what is the next question we have? We have the next question that is what was the average base pay for all employee per year? So we have already discussed the group by concept. We need to apply the group by concept over here. And what we want to achieve is we want to have a average base pay from year 2011 till 2014. Okay, response from Yatind. What we will do is we'll just data set that we want to call will do the group by. We'll use the group by function because we just want to have a data set. We want to have an average mean from 2011 till 2014. So we'll write salary dot we want to use a group by function on which variable we want to use it on year. We'll write year dot mean. We'll use a mean function on the base pay. Right, we got this answer. Okay, so the next question, how many unique job titles are there? We can simply use, we can call the data set that we want salary. We want to extract a column that is job title. Okay, and then we can use the function that is number of unique. you will get this response. Okay. Similarly, the next question is what are the top 5 most common job that we have? So again, what we want to do is we want to extract the job title first. We'll extract the job title first because we want to get the top 5 most common job. And then we can use a value count function over here, and we just want a top 5, so we'll write head 5 because we are writing when we use a head command we'll get a top 5 again, similarly that we have discussed in the last class also. Audio volume is too low. Bhaskaran, am I audible now? Am I audible to everyone now? Because okay, okay, Bhaskaran, I will try to speak more louder, but I think everyone else is able to hear me properly. I think yeah, everyone is getting. I'm getting yes response from everyone. Okay, so I will carry on. So in this case, what I am trying to do is again, I am trying to find what are the top 5 most common jobs. Okay, so what I have done is I have selected a column of my data set salary, and I can use a value count function. These are the top 5 most common jobs. So when I use a function that is value counts, it is similar to the frequency of the particular column. So it is giving me a frequency of the job title column. And what I want is I want a top 5. So I have applied this function that is head 5. We can use a tail 5 if I want a last or the least 5 most common job. Okay. Now,
One
next,
question I have.
sorry, can you come up again?
Yeah, one question. When you are applying that value count, is it going to sort out automatically?
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you. Can you type your question in the chat box?
Sure, I'll.
Yeah. Yes, Yatin, yes. So what it will do is based on the frequency, it will sort the data as well. Okay, so just last couple of questions before we start our session, our topic for today. So in this question, what we want to do is how many job titles were represented by only one person in 2013? Okay, so this is a small kind of tricky questions. So what we need to do is we want to find a job title that were represented only by one person in 2013. So there is a basically there is a 3 filter that we need to apply here. So filter there's 2 filter that we need to apply here. So year should be 2013 and the value for that particular person value count should be 1. Okay, so how we will start this? So first what I will do is I will just select my data. I just want cell data. Year is my column, and I would just want to have a data of 2013. So one filter that I have applied, I have extracted only 2013 data out of my data set. Now, what I want from 2013, I want job title. I want only job title column. Okay. So I want job title column for 2013 data. So I have extracted this. Now, the second thing, what I want to do is I just the second condition that we have is it should be represented by only one person. So we need, again, similarly, we can use the value count function, that is a frequency function. So we can use a value count is equal to 1, right? We can use a value counts equal to 1. Okay. So now what till now what we have done is we have first we have taken the our data set, that is salary data. We have extracted year 2013, and corresponding to that we have taken only job title, right? So corresponding to that we have taken only job title, right? And then we have applied condition that the frequency should be 1, which means that the value count should be equal to 1. So now what my required answer is, how I want to calculate the number of such observation in my data set. Okay, so this will give you a particular thing. So I just give you a data set, but I want the count of this kind of values that we have in a data set. If you run this code, it will give you the entire data set which has this condition. First condition is only year 2013, and job title is where the frequency of the job title is equal to 1. So this will give an entire data set. But what I want how many such observation that we have in our data set, right? So what I will do is I will just make it as an, I will use a sum function over here, data set. This will give me my output. What I have done is I have created a data set, then from that data set I have applied a function, that is sum function, on that particular data set. So I get the value, the number of such observations which satisfy that particular condition, right? Okay, then we'll move to the, okay, so we have 2 more questions left, then we'll move to the today's session. So yeah, so this is a kind of, yeah, so next question is, how many people have the word self in their job title? So you need to find in the job title how many people have the word this, because this kind of questions will come into picture when you are applying a machine learning techniques. So for example, this kind of questions will come when you are using NLP. Okay, so when you are using NLP, you want to clean your data. You don't want to have particular word in your data. So you need to think in such a way that how can you overcome this issue. Okay, so that is why this kind of questions is very important. Okay, so now in this case, what you need to do is, I will not write the answer for this. I just request you to write the answer for this. Okay, we'll do this question after the chapter, after the completion of chapter 1, because I have yeah, so in this case, first you need to do is you need to make a function, and then you need to apply that function on the data set. So that is a part of today's session. And the last question is there a correlation between the length of title string and salary? So again, we need to find the correlation between these two particular column. So that again we'll discuss during this class. Okay. Now let's start with today's session. Okay. So you have already have this data set in your drive. You just load this data set from the drive. Salaries.csv I have already uploaded in the previous day folder, so you can quickly load that data set so that you can also keep on doing simultaneously. So in the first this is the first session for today. So what we are going to do is we are again importing a data using a pandas. We'll read the data using a pandas, and now we'll apply loop in our data set. Okay, so now this is my data set. So this is my data set. So loaded a data set till here. This code we have already discussed what this code is doing. So I will quickly ask a simple question, and I will tell a name of person who is supposed to give the answer. Why we are writing an index call equal to 0? And I want an answer from Rakesh. Rakesh, you can type the answer in the chat box. The question is why we are using index call equal to 0. Rakesh, are you on the line? Yeah, so please tell us why we are using an index call equal to 0. Sanjay, can you ping the answer? What? Yeah, select index from the first
I don't
column.
have the internet, but I don't have the internet. But the first column we want to make it as the index
Yes,
to be used
exactly.
for.
Yeah. So this is just a quick revision for why we are using index call equal to 0. So we just want our first column to be an index. Okay. If we don't assign it equal to 0, it would not make our column as an index. Okay, and it would give the index starting from a 0 to the number. So this is why we are using index call equal to 0 over here. Now we have imported a data from our working directory, and we just have sliced the data set. So we have taken a subset of a data set. So that is why I have used data.iloc command here. I believe everyone is aware of data iloc function. So I will not going to spend much time on this. What is data.iloc? Okay. So now we have this data set, data 1. Now what I want to do is I just want to apply a loop in this data set. Okay. So what I will do is I will just apply a loop on the entire data set. So the name of my data set is data. Okay. And data 1 is just a subset of data where there is only a 5 rows and the entire column. Okay, so when I apply a loop in a data set like this, and if you want to print I, how the loop functions in a data frame. So it will take the column name. Okay, it will not it will not do the looping for the entire column, but it will take the column name first, then it will take the name of the second, and so on. So when you apply a loop for I in data, so it take employee name first, then move to the second, job title, base pay. So directly when you are applying a loop, it is running throughout each and every variable, and that is what we required, right? Because column is directly a variable in our data set, right? So when we are applying a loop, it is running through the entire column, which means entire variable. So that is ultimate requirement of us. Whenever we want to do some operations in particular variable, we can apply a loop that okay, you take this 3 variable base pay, overtime, and other pay, and you can apply some function on this, because all the functions that we will do on the variable level. We will not going to do it on an observation level, because the root is an observation level. Okay, I repeat once again, when we apply a loop, it runs through the column, which means it runs variable of my data set, because that is also an ultimate requirement for us, because we are all the operations that we are going to do, we are going to do it on a column level. We are not going to do any observation on the observation level, because the rules are the observation. So we are not going to apply anything on the observation level. So that is why when I write for I in data and print I, it tells me all the variable of my data set. So again, that is also a different way to calculate all the variable in your data set. Okay. Now, in any questions till now, how the loop functions in a data set. This is how the loop start functioning in the data set. The loop works in the data set. Okay. So now, let's say if you want to apply loop on one particular variable only. So if you want to apply a loop, let's say, so you want to apply a loop for a particular variable. So I will use data 1 here, because in my original data set, in my original data, the number of observation is around 1000. So okay, so one quick question: how to check? Let's say I have exported this data set, right? How to check the number of rows and column of my data set? What command can be used to check how many rows and column does this data set have? Say exactly, Sanjay. So we can use data dot. So what is the error that I'm getting here? I'm using data.save to get the save of my data set. So I'm getting this error that tuple object is not callable. What does it mean? Okay, sorry. I was on mute. Uh, okay, so what I was explaining is what is happening over here. So if I use data.save, I'm getting my output, but when I'm using a parenthesis, I'm getting an error, which means, so you can think it like this way: you have a function, from function you get some output. Okay, so if you want to call that output from a function, you can use this parenthesis. So this parenthesis is something that to call that particular output. Okay, but since whenever your function is giving you an output in a tuple format, you are not required to call that. And this data dot save, this the value that I'm getting, this is tuple. So when you store this thing in some variable, and if you want to calculate the type of x, you will get a tuple. Because what is happening here? Because people are immutable, that is why we are getting a data.save in that format, because we can't go and change the rows and column from here. Okay, so that is why this function is giving me an object in a tuple format. So for all other thing, whenever you used to find when you used to get a minimum value or maximum value, you used to use this function parenthesis to call the values, because the values in that particular case is not tuples. It may be in any, it may be of any data type. Okay, so let's say minimum, if you are extracting one particular value, it may be of atomic data type, integer or anything like that. Or if you are extracting for entire column, for entire variable, let's say if you have a 10 variable and you're extracting the minimum value for all the 10 variable, you may end up getting a series. But all these things are mutable. But data.save, the value that we are getting from data.save is not mutable. So this is one of the trick questions that you will get uh, in a data science world. Okay, so that is why I want to highlight this. Okay, so now I have this data set. I have already discussed how we apply a loop in our data set. Okay, now Now let's say if you want to apply a loop only for one particular variable in a data set, you can simply do it like this. For I in data 1, I'm using data 1 again because the shape of my data is very big. It has some 10,000 or lakh observation. So I am just using data 1, that is a subset, and I just want to apply a loop, sorry, for a particular column. And I just want to print I, sorry, employee name. So in this way I can do this, right? Sorry. Okay. Now, in any doubt till now? Okay. So similarly, what I am doing is I'm in this example also. What I am doing is I am just setting my data set as I have already did. So this is the way that I am subsetting a data set, and I'm just printing the employee name for the first 5 observation only. So that is how I'm doing in this case. So now my questions to you all is, I just want to have a employee name. I just want to have an employee name for the last 5 observation using a loop command. Okay. What I want, again, I am repeating my question. I just want to have a name of all the 5 employees. I just want to have a name of all the 5 employees on the last of this table. Okay, so the last 5 employee name using loop. You are not supposed to use tell command over here. You just need to use a loop. Okay, so I want an answer from everyone on this. Hari, ping the answer. I repeat, Hari, are you on the line? I repeat, Hari, are you on the line? Okay, Janisa, are you on the line? Okay, hi Hari and Janisa. So, Hari and Janisa, can you please tell me what would be the answer of this? I just want to have a last 5 employee name from my data set using a loop. Take a couple of minutes to think. First, just let me give you a brief hint for this. First, you need to extract a data set in which you have only last rows, and then you need to apply a loop just to print the employee name, because you want to have a employee name, so you need to use a loop over here. No, we can't use tail. Yeah, I know that we can use a tail and we can get a number value, but right now we can't use tail. We need to use a loop over here. Okay, so I'm getting a response from Bhaskaran -1. I have also minus symbols. Yeah, I got a full response from Yatendra and this also. Okay, so let's discuss what anyone else is trying. Okay, let's give a minute for others to try this. Okay, so how we will achieve that? So I've got a response from Yatendra and Jisbu. Yeah, so I've got a two response. So what we will do is, since we want to extract the last five column of my data set, I will use -5 till this, right? Because we don't, so the first part before the comma is row and the second part is column. So there should be no doubt on the column part because we want to extract the entire column. On the row part, I just want the last five. Okay, so I use -5 till if I'm not giving any values after column, which means go till the last, right? So now when I use the print, I got this response. Now just to check whether whatever we have written is correct or not, we'll use a tail function here. But we'll use a data dot tail and we just want a 5 value. Okay. So from here we can match that, okay, the response that we are getting is correct. So the three of them have not provided their information, right? So now the questions come. If you already have a functions to extract this, why we are applying a loop to do the same? Okay. So the question is, if we already have a function to do this, why we are applying a loop? Any response from anyone? Because we already have a inbuilt function from where we can easily extract this thing. Whatever column you want to extract, whatever rows you want to extract, you have already functions for this. Then why we are using a loop? Yeah, filter can be applied while loop. Yeah, that is also one of the response. We can apply a filter based on the loop. Okay, others. Yeah, exactly. Maybe we want to apply some operations. Yeah. So let's say I have a data set in which there is a value of there is one column that is age. Okay, and I want to have another column in my data set. I just want to mention that if the age is greater than 18, the person should be it should be have a value that adult, and if the value is less than 18, so the value is minor. Okay, so what I want to do is I have an age column and I want to apply operations, and I want to add column which have, if the age is greater than 18, it should give you a value that adult, or if age is less than adult 18, it will give you a value that is a minor. So that kind of operations, if you want to do, we can use a loop. In that case, we can't directly use the slicing, dicing that we have already discussed, or any command that we have like lock or ilock or tail, because what we need to do is we need to apply functions throughout the column of my data set. So that is where the importance of loops come into the picture. Okay. So any doubt till now? Why we what is the importance of loop that we are discussing? Any doubt till now? So similarly, what we are going to do is, let's say my base pay. There is one column that is base pay over here. I just want to divide my base pay by 100. Okay, I just want to divide my base pay by 100. Okay, so in this case, what I have done is I have applied a loop, and first of all, what I have done is I have used the ilock to just to filter out the data set. Similarly, it is just a subset of my data set, and I have extracted only the base pay column data set. So if you print this thing, you will have, or if you print this thing, you will have this information. Again, the data type for this, I repeat again, the data type for this is series. Okay. Now, you have this information. What you want to do is to you need to divide all this information by 100 for the first 5 observation. Okay, so this is my data set. I just applied a loop and I just want to print I divide by 100. So it would simply give me a result like this. So what is happening in this code is the loop I is running throughout entire observation of this column. First this one, second this, third, and every time when it is into that particular element, it is dividing that element and it is printing out that. Okay, I again repeat the logic behind this. The loop is running for the entire column of the data set, and whenever it is there on that particular element, it is dividing that particular value by 100 and it is printing, and then again it is going to the second column. Okay, so if I write print here, so what is my answer? The question is, what is my answer when I write print here?
It would be the last values 13.16.
Exactly, Sanjay. Yeah. So what will happen is we'll have only last observation printed. It doesn't means that it doesn't mean that the function is not applying on the entire column. The function is applying on the entire column, but since we have written print out of the loop, so it is only printing the last column. Okay, so you can think it like this. You make it like this: x is equal to I divide by 100 and print this. You have only, in this case, what you are getting printed, you are getting printed only the last observation. because at the last that is the value that is left in the I, but the operations is running throughout the entire column. So when you try to print X, if you want to print X here, you will have all the values. Sorry. So now insert a cell below, and when you print X here, okay, so what is happening here also is, okay, so can you think about what is happening here? When I am applying X to I, X is equal to I by 100, what is happening? So when I am applying a loop throughout my entire column of my data set, okay, when I am applying a loop throughout the entire column of my data set, so what is happening over here is when I'm applying a loop, and when I'm applying a loop, so first what it is doing is it is taking the value of this particular value, it is dividing that by 100, and it is storing that into the X. So again the X is getting overwritten. So what is happening is the last value of the X is only getting printed, because what I am doing is I am storing all this value into X, right? So when I'm storing all the value into X, and X is a atomic data type, so it is getting overwritten. So you only left with the last value of the X. Okay, so now think about the in which we can have all the value stored into the X. So right now what is happening is when I am doing this, and when I try to print X, what I'm getting, sorry, right now what I'm getting all the value of X, because in the inside the loop I'm printing the X. If you take it out of the loop, it will print only one values, because it is every time it is overwriting that particular value. Okay, so that is the whole funda behind, whole logic behind the this loop. Okay, so any questions till now about the loop, how we are applying a function inside the loop?
So one question is like, instead of going to the base pair in the iLock itself, we can give the reference as well, correct? For the base pair column.
Yeah, we can do that also. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because we are using a iLock command, so we can give a reference of the base pair also. Instead of writing a base pair, we can give a reference for it. Okay, so till now what we have discussed is we have discussed a loop, and by default loop runs throughout the column of the data set. Okay, now let's say if you want to apply a loop throughout the rows of the data set. So first thing, this is my data set that we are already discussing, and we have applied a loop throughout the column of the data set, because by default it is applying a loop throughout the column of the data set. Okay, so now in some case, let's say if you want to apply some function throughout the rows, right? So let's say when you are creating a training and test data set, and you want to do some sampling on the training data set as well as on this test data set. So in that case, you require to apply a loop throughout the rows of the data set instead of column, because in that case you are just segregating a data set based on the loop, based on the rows. You are not segregating based on the column because you want all the variable in the training and test data set. Just the number of observations is, you want 70 or 80% of the observation in the training data set and remaining 20-30% in the test data. So there is a requirement to apply a loop over a row. Okay. So now when we if you want to iterate over a row, you need to use this function that in this particular data set, I want to iterate over a row. Okay. And when you want to, what I am doing here is, let's say I'm up. Yes. So this is my data set. I'm iterating it over a rows. So this is the value that I will get from this data set, right? So what it is doing is it extracting all the rows of this particular data set. So this is my first value. This has all this information, all the variable, all the informations, all the variable, all the informations, right? If I remove this rows, I will only get a list of the variables, because by default loop applies for the column, but since we have given it to iterate toward a row, so it is taking all the rows, right? Now again, so this is my data set, data one. Again, this is my data set. When I apply when I use a function that is iterate over a row, I get all the value like this: job title, base pay, all the rows. I get it printed like this, right? Now, when I use two variable in this, okay, so what I'm doing is I'm using a two variable in my loop, and I just want to print I in this case. What would be the result in this? Can you think about the logic behind the loop? I've used I and j in data one, and I have passed it to iterate toward a row. Okay, so what I want is, what is the input that I will get from the printer? Yeah. So I will get a response from, I will get a column name exactly, and column name is an, what is so at initially what I have done is I have defined the index call equal to 0, which means the ID is my column name over here. So I will get a value of ID from 1 to 5 in this case. Okay, so now let's say if I want to print like this, I comma j. So if I want to print it like this, I comma j, what happened in this case? So now in this case, what I will get is I will get the same value like whenever I apply a single variable in the loop. Okay, so now when I'm passing a two variable and when I'm asking it to iterate over a row, what's happening inside the loop is the first I is the index of the row. So first I it is printing is the index of the row, and the j is the entire content of that particular row. So let's say if you want to segregate, if you have 100 rows, and if you want to segregate it into a training and test, and you just want a top 80 record, if you want a 80 record that should get into the uh, training data set, you can apply a loop using one particular variable, because when I use I and j, I is something that is applying through the I is something that is the index of that particular row, and j is the entire content of that particular row. Okay, so that is one of the logic behind the iterate row. Again, let's say what I want to do is I want to have uh, I want to I have a data set like this. This is my data set, right? This is my data set. So now I want my data set in a way that first one is the ID, then colon, and then employee name. I want a data set. I want to extract a data set in a format that it has its ID as well as its employee name, because that is also a requirement like this. In some case we just want to extract two variable out of my data set, right? Simply you can use the ilog command again here over here, but what I want to do is I want to use a loop to do the same thing. I want to extract ID and employee name. So what I can do is I can again apply a loop, and I can ask the loop to run through the row, which means I iterate toward a row, and I can print this. I can use this print I. I means, as I have already discussed, when I'm giving a two variable, that is I and j, it means that I is applying through the I is the index of the row, or you can say that I is, in this case I is the ID that is getting printed, and j is the entire data set that we have. So what I want is I want an employee name from my j. So what I have done is print I plus colon plus j, and from j just extract the employee name. So when I run this thing, I will get, sorry, yeah, when I am running this, I'm getting an error over here, and the error is unsupported operand type plus integer and string. So what is happening over here? So I'm getting an error that I can't use plus for the different data type. So one is my integer data type and other one is the string data type, right? So when I'm using a plus sign, and if it has a different data type, it will throw you an error. So what we can do is, so I is an ID, I is an ID, and I is an integer in this case, and employee name is a string in this case, right? So if you want to add this thing, you need to make it as a same data type, right? So when you convert I to the string, then you can apply this function and you can get your result printed like this. Sorry, this. Okay, sorry. Yeah, this is what I have got. Yeah, I've got IT and the employee. Yes, exactly. Yatin. So that is why if I will not use a string over here, I will get an error. That is because the data type is different. Okay. Uh, Now let's think about and other. Yeah. So now my question is, I have this data set. This is my data set, data one, right? I want to add one more column over here, which has the value, of base pay into plus other pay. So I want to have a column in my data set. The name of column can have, you can put it like this, new call, and it should be the summation of base pay plus overtime pay. This is a simple question. You can think about this, how we can do that. I want a new column which has this value, base pay plus overtime pay. Okay, so I've not got any response till now. This question is very simple. I just want to add new column which has the value of, which will do the summation of base pay plus overtime pay. So Sanjay and Yatendra, your response on this? Sanjay and Yatendra, are you online?
Yeah. So mainly we will have to create a new column. So it would be uh, data underscore one within brackets, the new column, whatever the name that we want to give, equal to within the loop, it should be the value of base pay and overtime pay.
Okay, so Sanjay,
Data underscore
as
one.
I've already mentioned that I want to add base pay plus overtime pay for the entire column. For the entire column. Okay. So in this case, if I'm applying function for the entire column, I don't need to apply a loop. Okay. So if I want to apply it to, let's say, from observation 1 till observation 80th or till observation 70th, I need to apply this function. So in that case, I can use a loop. But since I want to apply this function throughout my entire column and I just want to add a new column, I can simply use data one, the new column name. This is the name of the new column of my data set, and is equal to data underscore one plus base pay. plus data underscore 1 comma other pay. Now when you print data 1, you get this new column. So this is this in this case what I have done is I have added a new column which is just the addition of base pay plus other pay. Since I want to apply it throughout my data set, so I have not used any loop in this case. So in a similar way, you can do all the basic operations and you can add a new column in your data set. Okay. And given that if you want to apply the same function to, let's say, a certain number of rows, in that case you can use the loop. Okay. So right now what we have discussed is we have discussed how we apply a loop to the pandas data frame, how we have by default loops work in a column way. If you want to apply a loop in a rows, you can use iterate row command to do that. And also if you want to add a new column for the entire data set, you are not required to use the loop in that case. Okay. Now so what is the error that I'm getting? Okay, so I will quickly discuss what is this error. So Yatin, this is not an error that I'm getting. This is just a warning that I'm getting. Okay, so the warning that I'm getting is I am importing a data set from a certain location of my data frame. Okay, so when I'm adding this column, the warning is saying me that it is not getting overwritten in your base data set. Okay, so in this, what is happening is it is not getting overwritten in my base data set. Okay, so that is why it is written over here. A value is trying to be set on a copy of slice from a data frame. So what it is doing is I have a data one. It is creating a copy of that particular data, and then it is applying the addition of new column in the copy of data, that particular data set. So that is why I'm getting this error, this warning. This is not an error, this is just a warning. Okay, is it clear? Okay. Now you can also do that. If you want to remove this warning, you can just write, let's say, you can write import warning. This is one of the way to ignore this warning that we are getting, and you can write so now in this way you can remove that warning. Okay, any doubt here then? Anyone, do you have any doubt till now how we apply a loop, how we apply a loop through the rows, how we add a column in our data set. And again, the same questions, why we are getting an error warning. Okay. Now, let's move to the other topic of the day, other part of the day. Similarly, what I have also done is, let's say if you want to calculate the length of now, since now let's talk about something more on this adding a column in my data set. So now in this case, I'm applying a simple function. Okay, so in this case, what I am doing is I'm applying a simple function. Okay, the simple function is just that I need to add base pay and other pay. So we have done that. But now, if I want to do, if I want to have one more column which contains the length of the employee name. Okay, so I want to have one more column which contain the length of the employee name. So in this case, we can't directly apply some function, because if it is a simple arithmetic function like addition, subtraction, we can use we can't we are not bound to use a loop in that case. But in this case, we need to use a loop, because what I want is I want one more column which consists the employee the length of the employee name. Okay, so in that case, what I will do is I will apply a loop again, and I will ask the computer to apply a loop for the rows. So that is why I am using iterate rows over here. Now, what I want is in my data one, so I have used the two variable again over here, I and j. I would simply consist my ID and j would consist my entire data set. So this line is clear. After this, what I'm doing is I'm just adding one more variable in my data set, that is length, and that is adding for all the values of I, which means that is adding for all the values of my ID. Okay, so that is why I have written I comma length. Okay, and what now I have added a data set. So this is an empty data set. What it consisted? It consists the length of j. J is again my data set, all the rows, and out of that j, just extract an employee name. So it consists the length of the employee name for my data set. So now when you run this, okay. So when you run this, you are getting a value like this. So first length, second length, third length, fourth length, fifth length. So again, that is why, because you are printing a data set over here. Sorry. So what is happening in this case? It is taking a name, it is taking a length of the employee name, and it is creating a one column for each particular variable. So you can see, since my data set has 5 rows and it is applying throughout their 5 rows, right? First one, this, second, third, fourth. So since it is applying for the entire 5 rows, and I have asked it to create a column for each particular row. So that is why it is creating a column for each particular row. So in this case, you can see 1 is 14, 12, 3, 4 and 5. So now my question is, and what my objective is, I just want one particular column which consists all the employee length of the employee name. Instead of creating it in a different column name, I would just want one particular column. I would tell you the importance of this part, why I'm creating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 later. So, but now just stick to the basic. I just want to have one column name, one variable that is length, which would consist the length of this particular employee name. So, how we'll do that? This is a code. Just think about what changes we will do so that we'll get one particular.
So data underscore one, just use len as a column name instead of ilen.
Okay, so just len. Any other thought on this? Any other person? Do you have any thought on this? You can take a 5 minute time because this is a good questions to think about. And Sanjay, I will also explain you what would be the output if you write the length of him. Okay, so just think about this. How we'll get this? Just take a 5 minute time and let's think about this because this is the last question on the operations part, I think. No, we'll discuss the pivot and cross tab and also applying a function. Yeah, we'll apply it. So this three thing is we'll discuss after this. Okay, so let's not go very fast on this. Let's think about how we'll do this. So I repeat, the question is I just want to add a column which consists the length of the employee. Simple. And Sanjay, you can think about this because this is not a right answer.
Yeah.
So you think about this because okay, I will explain you later what is the output of this, but you can think about the logic behind this because this is not the right answer. So I can see some new into the class. I'll just quickly repeat you the question, and you need to think about this. If you have, if you have a knowledge of the loop. So what I want is, I just want to add one more column which consists the length of the employee name. Okay. So that is my question. Just think about, just think about this for a couple of minutes. So have you got any answer on this? Yatendra, any answer on this? Yatendra, are you online? Okay, try again. Try. Take couple of minutes again.
Can I use the lock command? The lock command. I don't have the system, so I'm not able to check.
Okay, sir.
The
Sorry,
lock
Sanjay.
command.
What you? Which command?
Using the lock command. Lock command
Yeah, you can
to
use the
set
lock command. Yeah, you can use the lock
data
command. Yeah.
underscore dot lock and then give the I row comma and then len I comma len.
Can you type it on the chat box? You're not audible properly.
Okay.
So let me give you a small hint till now. Okay. So what? First, try to extract the length of the employee name. So the hint is just try to extract only the length of the employee name in one particular variable. Arun, your answer is not correct. Okay. So you want to do it as an exercise? You want to think about this, or should I go ahead and explain this? Or you just want to think it as an exercise on this? So simple thing. First, what you need to do is you just let me do one thing. First, you try to extract the length. Yeah. So this is the first step that you are getting. You are getting a length of employee name. You store it into A, and you can able to do it in a loop. Okay, you can able to do it in a loop. Now you need to think about how you are going to append this. Repeat. How you're going to append this in your current data set. Okay. Okay. So keep it as an exercise. Okay, let's keep it as an exercise. I want all of you to think about this. Okay, and we'll discuss this thing after that. I don't want to give you an answer for this. I just have give you a small hint on this, because what I want to do is I have got the value of A. I just want to append it. Okay, makes sense? Okay, so just keep it as an exercise. Just do this thing. Okay, so we'll move to other part then. How we are going to derive. Okay, so there is one thing that is important part in a data cleaning and data preparation part. That is how we are going to determine the pivot table. Okay, so what is the pivot table? As we have all pivot, as we all know that we have the pivot in our Excel. We used to create a pivot in our Excel. In a similar way, we can create a pivot in pandas also. And the pivot in the pandas will give you a more, you can say that, more clear picture of the data set that you have. So let's say if you have a data set like this. Okay, so let me see my directory is this one. So this data set is there in the G drive. I request you all to just load this data set. So this is my working directory. So this is my working directory. Okay, so this is my working directory. I just need to make it as a double forward slash, or we can use a single backward slash. Okay. Data set. Let's see. Run the data underscore one. This is my data set. These are the different IDs. These are the gender. This is the married column, whether the customer is married or not, whether the customer is self-employed or not, and what is the loan amount that customer has taken. Okay, so this is my data set. I just quickly want to understand. Uh, let's say I just quickly
One
want to
second, I think
understand. Yeah.
we are not able to see the screen. It's just stuck.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen
Yep.
now?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay. Sorry, I just paused the screen. Okay, so what we are doing is we are discussing about the pivot, as I've already discussed. So this is my data set that I have already kept in the G drive. The name of the data set is loan data. Uh, you can load this data set from the G drive. This data set consists of 4 different variables. First one is ID, gender, married, self-employed, and the loan amount. Now, since I have made the index call equal to 0, which means the ID has become the index over here, and also we have a loan amount corresponding to the gender, married, self-employed, and self-employed. Now, what I want to understand, how many male that who are not married and who are self-employed apply for mean of how many loan amount. So I just want to understand. The question is how many male. Um, so I just want to understand the average loan amount. Let's say like this: average loan amount for a who are not married and who was self-employed. Okay, so for this, what we can do is we can create a pivot table out of this. Okay, so to create a pivot, this let's copy this thing. Okay, so what I need to do is, so this is the syntax for to create a pivot table. So this is the syntax to create a pivot table. So what we need to write is, we need to call the data set. We need to use the function that is pivot table. You need to write the values that you want. So in this case, the value that I want is the loan amount, and these are the different index that I want. Okay, these are the different index that I want. I want an index for gender, married, self-employed, and also the values that I'm looking for the loan amount. I just make it as a mean. I just want a mean of the loan amount. So that is why I have written as numpy np.mean. Okay. Now, when I run this code, I got this value. So from here, you can make a different decision. My first question was, how many male that are not married and who are self-employed applied for what amount of average loan? So you can calculate, or you can get the values out of this pivot. So this pivot table is one of the very powerful tool that you will keep on using when you're applying the ML techniques. So we see that a male who are not married and who are self-employed apply for average 10 loan amount. The average loan amount applied for by them is 10. Okay. So this is the whole concept of the table here. Okay. Yeah. So index is, yeah. Okay. So I've got one question, Bhaskaran, and yeah. So first question is, index is equivalent to group by here. Yeah, exactly. Index is equivalent to group by here. We are by index we are doing the group by. So just to see the difference, when you remove this self-employed, you'll get a different value, because now you just apply a group by on the female and on the gender and the married part. Okay, so this is the amount that you are, this is the values that you are getting, and which is very much different from the previous one, right? Loan amount, because in this the group by has changed, right, Bhaskaran? Okay, what are you using in aggregate? Could you please share it? Yeah. So in aggregate function, sorry Yatendra, your question is not clear. So I'm using a mean value in the aggregate function. As an aggregate function, I am using a mean value. NP is just, I am importing numpy as NP, and I am using an NP dot mean. Okay. So, so can you come up with your question again if it is not clear yet? Because I am not able to understand your question. What are you using in
Not
aggregate?
visible at this, so I think right now it's visible. We aren't aware what the aggregate function is.
Yeah. So again, Yatin, one small logic here. Why we are using NP? Why are you using NumPy here? Why we can't apply mean over here? So that is why the significance of NumPy comes into the picture. Because what we are doing is we are learning different type of. In the first session, we have learned the different type of data type. That is why NumPy and pandas. So that is the significance of NumPy. Because if you want to apply some uh, functions, some mathematical function, you need to use the numpy over that, and mean is one of those functions. Okay? So that is why you are calling numpy.mean. So that is the advantage of numpy. Okay, so I believe we have discussed the. Okay, so there is also one thing that is cross tab. You can create a cross tab like this. If you have a different based on the different column name, you can create a cross tab. This is very simple, so I will not discuss this thing. This is just a cross tab of gender and married. It will give you a count of a female who are married or not married. So this cross tab normally comes into the picture when you are creating a classification matrix. So let's say when you apply, let's say logistic regression. So after the logistic regression, you need to make a cross tab which is similar to the classification matrix. So we will have one class on what is the classification matrix. Okay. Then we have uh, okay. So last thing that we have is also let's say this is my loan amount. I just want to add one more column. Okay, so if I will tell you this, get to know the answer of the. Okay, let's discuss this. Anyways, you need to apply the same logic inside the loop. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to add one more column, which will give you a value of risk, whether the risk is high or low. The condition of high risk is if the loan amount is greater than 20, then it is high risk, and if it is less than 20, then it is a low risk. What I have done is I have first created a function. So this is my function. So this is my argument. So this is the name of my function. The name of function is risk, and the argument is a. So there is only one argument in this function, and what it is doing is if it is greater than 20, just return it is high risk. If it is less than 20, then return low risk. This is then now if I want to add this thing in my data set, if you what you want to do is you just need to apply this function in the data set. So what you can do is you can use the data one loan amount, because you need to apply this loan function on the loan amount column, and you can use dot apply risk. Dot apply risk means just apply the function risk for the entire column of data one. Okay, so when you apply this, you will get the value like this. That is the value corresponding to each of the values of the variable that is loan amount. Okay. Now this is the data. The data type for this is series. Now when you want to make this series inside your data set, you can just do like this. You can just add a variable that data one, the name of that variable is new, and you can pass that particular thing into the series. Okay, so the concept is like this. When you first, what you have done is you you have created a function based on your condition. Then what you have done is you have applied that particular function throughout the column, sorry. And what you have got, new is a series, under series. Okay, now once you got a series, you just want to add this series into a data set. So what you have done this, you have added this series, the name of the series is new, into a data set that is data one, with the name of the particular variable is new. and when you print this data 1, you'll get a variable new which corresponds to the value that it is low risk, high risk, or something like that. Okay. So I think that's all from the operations part of the pandas. So the thing that we have discussed, you will keep on using this thing when you are creating a data set, when you are preparing a data set. So this all the logic that we have discussed till now is very important uh, when we create a data or when we are preparing a data to apply any of the ML techniques. So right now, these are the all we have. I have tried to cover all the important functions that we are going to use, and this is one of the important thing that how we are going to apply a loop to my data set. Okay, so the only questions in this one is you need to think on this particular question. You need to think on this particular question. You need to print the length of the employee name as a different column in your data set. So this is the only questions that you need to think for till now. Okay. So now we'll discuss any questions till now. Anything you want to highlight till now? Maybe in today's class I'm going bit fast because I need to cover lots of things today. And these are the basic things that I believe we should be aware of before we do any of the ML technique, because the data preparation part and applying the loop and all things is very important. If we can't think on this way, we can't apply a ML technique on this. So the data preparation is the you can think about when you are doing analytics, 80% of your time will goes into this data preparation part. Okay, so are we good to go on the next topic? I would require a response from everyone. Yeah, I got a response from Nitin, Sanjay,
Yeah.
others. Yeah. So let me move to the next topic for today's, that is dealing with the missing values. Okay. Okay. This is my data set. I have kept this data set in that same location. You can uh, download that data set. So how my data look like? So this is my data set. I have four different fields. First one is customer ID. Second one is customer name. Third one is number of credit card that customer has, and the last one is default. Whether the customer has how many times the customer has defaulted in the past. Okay, so this kind of data you will get. You will not get entire clean data when you are using when you are uh, applying or when you are doing the analytics. So this kind of data you will get. You will get. So what are the problems in this data set? You have some missing values. These are your missing values. You have some numbers in the default. So default would ideally be yes or no, but you are getting a 12 in the default. So this is also one kind of missing value that you have. Also, in the number of credit card, you can see that you are getting a different kind of missing value. So you can see that there is small NA kind of missing value. This is also missing values. So this is a different kind of missing value that you will get. Okay, and this is my data set now. Okay, so before we dive into the code, so first we just want to understand why we'll get a missing value. There are many reasons that we get that is there are many reasons why we get this missing value, because first thing that someone has forgot to fill that particular field. let's say if you're creating a data manually and someone has forgot that field, there are some programming error, there are some database error. So there are different kind of issues that you have. That is why you get the missing values. So this is basically a theoretical thing that you need to think about. Okay, this kind of missing values is there. So now let's start with the standard missing value. So in Python, if the missing value is like this and if you have this kind of missing value, this is called as a standard missing value. And if you have a missing value like this, you can easily identify those missing value by using this function, that is null. So if you apply this function on the cust ID, so right now this is my data set, and now what we will discuss is we'll go on each column wise to clean our data. So first we'll focus on the customer ID because that is my first column. So from customer ID we can see that we have two missing value, that is which is NA and all both the two missing values in the customer ID is standard missing values. So when you apply is.null function, you will get a boolean value of true corresponding to the values where there is a missing value. So in this case the missing value is at third and at seventh observation, so you get a true at third and the seventh observation. So you should talk about the index, that is second and sixth. So when you simply apply is.null, you are getting a true corresponding to the second and sixth, because this is the missing value and this is the standard missing value. Now let's move to the other part. Let's move to the second column, that is customer name. There is no missing value in the customer name, so we don't need to think about the customer name column. Let's move to the other column, that is CC. Okay, in CC, when you apply the similar function is.null, you get true corresponding to second and fifth, but you get a false value, which means there is no missing value corresponding to seventh and eighth, because the reason for this is the missing value that is there on the seventh and eighth, these are not a standard missing value as defined in the pandas. So this is not a standard missing value. So when you apply is.null function to the column CC, you are getting false for 7 and 8, which means there is no missing value at 7 and 8. It only detects the missing value of second and fifth. Okay, any doubt till now? So that is the difference between a standard missing value and not a standard missing value. And you can easily detect a standard missing value from is.null function. Okay. Now, if you have any doubt, you can tell me. Any question? Okay. So now, after the non-standard, so how to tackle the problem of this non-standard missing value? Okay. So what we can do is we can create a list and we can pass all the different types of missing value that we can expect from a data set in a data set. Okay, what we can do is we can make a list and we can pass all the different type of missing values that we can expect in our data set. Or sometime in our data set, let's say some values like let's say my data set is CC and we expect a number between 0 to 10 into this column. Okay, so I have one variable in which I expect a value from 0 to 10, and any value after 10 we can treat that particular value as a missing value. So all that thing also I'm going to discuss today. Okay. So first thing is on non-standard part, what I have done is I have make a list which consists all the different type of missing value that the data set consists of. Okay, so this is my list. This is a different type of data value that data type. This is the sorry. This is my list, and this is the different kind of missing value that is there in our data set. And now, while reading the data set, what I have done is I have used this list to make it as a NA values. So what I want is, while I'm reading this data set, just make all these values, all these missing values as a NA values. So now when you run the code, you will get NAN at 7th and 8th. Okay, so earlier on 7th and 8th, you are getting a value like this, which is not a missing. But what I have done is I have made non-standard missing value to a standard missing value by making a list, and while reading a that data set, I just pass argument that is NA values is equal to missing values. So missing value is this list. I just make all this list NA value. Now easily I can deduct the missing value using is.null command. Make sense? I've converted non-standard to the standard one. Right now, okay, so this is my data set now. I have tackled the problem of my customer ID variable and the CC variable. Now, in the fourth variable, that is default, I have a different kind of missing value. So I have a two different missing value. One is 12 and second one is NAN. NAN is a standard missing value, so we not need to worry about NAN. So the different kind of value is 12 here, because we know that the default has only two values. Either it is yes or no. If it is 12, it means that it is a missing value. So this is also a type of missing value. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to convert this 12 into a missing value. Okay, so right now you can see that, okay, since my data set is very low, my data set is only having a nine observation, we can easily detect that, okay, we can, by easily seeing into the data set, we can see that, okay, 12 is a missing value. But let's say if you have a lakh of observation, so in that you don't know what are the different kind of missing values you have. So one of the missing value is that you are getting an integer where you are expecting a string. Okay, so one is a standard missing value, one is a non-standard missing value, other is a you are getting an integer where you are expecting a string. That is also a missing value, right? So in this case, what I will do is I will make this as I will make a function. Okay, so what I will apply a loop, and I just want to convert my data set, my default values. I will run a loop for entire value of the default, and I will check if there is any integer into my data set, because I'm expecting a string in this case. Okay, you can think it in other ways also. Let's say in a integer data set you are getting a string, that is also a kind of missing value, but in this case I'm expecting a string but I'm getting an integer. Okay, so what I will do is I will apply a loop to the default column, and what in the loop what I will do is I will just check the class of the element. If it is integer, then I will make it as a missing value. If it is a string, then I will not do anything. Okay, so what I have done is I have applied a loop which will run into this data set, that is data1, and which will run through the column, through the default variable only. And what it will do is it will just try and it will check, try and expect. These are the two commands that is there in the loop. What it will do is it will just check whether the particular element is integer or not. If it is integer, then it will make it as missing value. If it is not an integer, then it will simply pass on. It will move to the second element. Okay. So what I am doing is I am just trying to convert integer into a missing value because we are expecting a string in this case. So now when I run the data one, I have converted 12 into my standard missing value. Right? Any questions till now? Any question on this function part? Or it is clear?
Yeah, I have a question here. So
Yeah.
in the default column, we have Boolean. We are expecting the value should be Boolean. So instead of in try block, instead of checking for row, can we check for Boolean? Because see, right now we have seen integer as a missing value, which means which is not expected. It may be string also, it may be other thing also.
Okay. So as I understand, yeah, come up again. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I am expect means my expectation in that column that I will have Boolean values. Uh, Outside of Boolean value is a null thing.
Yes. So Hari, to your question is in this data set you are expecting a Boolean. Okay, you are expecting a Boolean and you just want to make all the other value instead of Boolean as a missing value. Yes, you can simply do that. Okay, so right now it is not a Boolean. So when I see the data set, I have a string that is passed into the default. Okay, so let me do one thing. So I just want to check the class of this particular value. Okay, what I want to do is I just want to check the class of this particular element. Okay, so what I will do is I just extract first, simply I'm extracting the value. So you can extract using an iloc simply, and when you check, let me sorry. This is my data. I just want to extract the default values for corresponding to the first index, right? So what I will do is first one is the row, and I will take the first row only. Then the last column. I will simply do that data one default Okay, so what I want to do is I just want to okay, so the question of Hari is simply the question is if you want to make all the data type instead of Boolean, we can do that. Okay, so first of all, what we'll do is we'll check the class of this particular variable. Okay, we'll check the class of this particular variable that is there in the default. So if we check the class of that particular variable, you can see that it is a string. Okay, when you see that this is a string and you expected a integer. Okay, sorry, I lost the question. Hari, can you come up with your question again?
Yeah, so my question is, in the default column, I can see the pattern is either yes means either y or n, that is no. So that is
Yes.
string. I understood that, but the logic currently it is written as we are only checking for integer type of value in default column. So I just
Correct.
wanted to write a logic where like instead of y and n, anything comes apart from y and n, I should consider as nan instead of just checking for integer. Because right now it is perfect. Whatever data set you are
Yeah,
showing,
makes sense. Yeah, because right now the data set is very small, so we can see that
yeah,
okay, the 12 is the numeric.
correct,
Yeah, exactly.
correct.
Do that. What we can do is, yeah, so the very good point. Uh, uh, Instead of only writing a logic for the integer where we are expecting a string, we can write a logic where what we want is we want all the other operation or all the other data type apart from string, we will make it as a standard missing value. So that should be an ideal way when we are dealing with a large data set. And that we can do, Hari, in this case also. Instead of what we can do is try int row. We can pass a multiple conditions over here. Okay, Hari.
Yeah,
So what we can do?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Yeah, good point, Hari. So what we can do is we can pass a multiple conditions here instead of integer row, and we can make all the other other values uh, expect other value other than string as a standard missing value. We can do that. Yes, Hari. Okay. You should check for boolean and pass all other will be error and corrected. Sorry, Yatendra, what is your point? Can you come up again? Can you speak out your point?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what I was saying is that if you know what type of variable that is, then you should maybe, instead of trying to look for the error type, you should maybe just try to identify, okay, my type for this particular one is string. Everything other than that should be corrected. So it should be that way to go. Instead of looking for integer, we should say, okay, if it is string, it's good enough. If it is not string, let's correct it. So irrespective of whether it's integer or anything else or whatever, it will get corrected. So.
Exactly. Yeah, good point, Yatendra. We can do that also.
Again, there is a catch over here is if you see the pattern into the default column, either yes or no. So if you will only check for string, say some words may come in between. So that will be also an NaN, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that is also a point. So let's say some value like yn is mentioned in a single string. So Hari, the point is what you can do is you can check for that is a different kind of missing value that you will keep on getting. So my motive to tell you that NA is not a missing value. So my logic to tell you that are the different kind of missing value that we are discussing right now. And the point that you are Yatendra is mentioning is a correct thing. We can get a different kind of missing value instead of if we will directly check it as like string. If we directly make it as like okay, if it is a string, then it is not a missing value. If it is not a string, then it is a missing value. And if it has the value like yn, it is a kind of missing value, right? So you need to check all those things, and you need to be able to apply the operations throughout your data set. Okay, so the if you talk about the type of missing value, you can get and different type of missing value when you are dealing with a different data set. Okay, make sense, right?
Yeah, yeah, correct.
So yeah, again to your point, Hari, when you are getting a let's say other string than y, let's say but the point you have mentioned, that okay, maybe there is a other kind of string which is also a missing value. Can you think about the logic how we can do that, how we can tackle that problem also in our data set? So right now we have discussed that if instead of only checking to the integer, we can check for all other data types, that we can do that. Now the question is, let's say if we have a missing value inside the string, the data type is different. If it is a, we want a value as a string, but the missing value is also a string. Instead of y and n, it is like o and p or something like that. Can you think about the logic? I'm not telling you to write an exact code. Just think about the logic how we can do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just on an abstract level, not a generic one. So what we can do is like we can check the value count which you did earlier for the factors. So we can see what are the major values we have, y and n. So we can maintain a list, and then we can check the values also for other than any value comes as a string type which doesn't belongs to y and n. Then we can make as an n.
Exactly. So what Hari is explaining that, first of all, what we will do is we'll take a frequency. What we will do is we'll take a frequency uh, using the similar functions that we have discussed at a value.count, and we can check whether the different kind of value that we are getting apart from y and n, and now we get the all the different kind of values apart from y and n. So our objective is to keep only y and n, and our expectation is also that we want a value only y and n, and all other we want to make it as a missing value. So now we will get as a result of that particular frequency procedure, we'll get all the different kind of unique uh, unique string that is present in that particular default. Okay, now we can pass a list which consists of all the other ex, expect yn other than yn, and what we can do is we can simply make it as a missing value. We can use this same logic. Make sense? Any questions till now? Any question, anything? So right now, so the logic to discuss about this missing value is we should not only think that by missing value we means that the value is missing or the value is not available. A, that is not a missing value. Missing value will be, can have a different types. We are expecting a string, we are getting a number, that is a missing value. We are expecting, uh, let's say, under the string, we are expecting only y and n, and we are getting other string, that is also a missing value. So that is why I'm telling you that most of your time will go into this data preparation part, because you can't even deduct all the type of missing value in a single day itself if you have a large data set, right? So, okay, so we have discussed the type of missing value and what exactly the missing value means. Okay, we have discussed this thing. Now, since we have got the different of missing values, okay, so till now what we have discussed what are the different kind of missing value and how to detect that particular missing values, right? So we have discussed what are the different kind of missing value and how we are going to deduct a different kind of missing values. So now once we get a missing value, uh, what we will do? So how to you can say that how to replace this missing value. Hari, your take on this. How to replace this missing value? Right now we have detected only the missing value. So now how to deal with this missing value.
So generally, to maintain the distribution safe, so either we take the based on data type, we take the mean or median or mode, generally to maintain the distribution of the data, to keep consistent the distribution of the data.
Okay, so that mean and median that we take, that we only take when we are applying a regression, because in regression we have our assumptions that our data should be normally distributed, right? So in that case, we can take mean, median of the data set. Okay, so
Correct.
that is one of the technique to do. So what we'll do is, uh, yeah, so this is the in the C column, will replace the value with the median of that particular column. We have 4 different missing values in this. So what we will do is, we'll simply take a median and we'll replace the missing value with a median. So what we'll do is, first we'll calculate the median of that particular data set. Okay. Again, the same questions. I keep on repeating this thing. Why we are using a single bracket? Why we are not using a double bracket here? Yatin, why we are using? Okay, so let me make it like this. So why we are using a single bracket to extract the CC instead of a double bracket? Exactly. We can't apply any function. Okay, series. Why series? Because we can't apply the mathematical functions like mean, median on the data frame. If we have a data type as a data frame, what happens is, so if we keep it like this, it is a data frame. And then if we do this, we can't apply uh, we can't apply all the functions over there, right? So what we'll do is, we'll create a median, and then if we take out the median value, we got it as a 3. And if we check the type of this median, if we check the type of this median, this is float, because again it is an atomic data. That is why it has become median. It has become float, right? Okay, so what we are doing is, we are replacing all the missing value with a median. Okay, so first of all, what we have done is, we have calculated a value that is median. And what is the class of median? Again, it become an atomic data type. You don't have to. I'm highlighting every time this data type, because this is very important when you are uh, doing the operations, because you need to understand what is the what is the data type that I'm getting. So median is not a series, median is a float. Okay, we are extracting a series, we are applying a function, and we are getting a value that is float. Now what we'll do is, we'll take the data, we'll extract the data one CC column only, and we'll fill, you can use this function, fill NA by median, and in place is equal to true. Again, the in place equal to true means that we are overwriting the data set. Okay, we are changing the data set. Now, on field dot, and I repeat again, field functions will work only for the standard missing value. So it is very important. So when you are dealing with the missing value, first of all, you need to convert the all the different kind of missing value in a standard missing value. Then only you can apply all this function. You can't apply this field dot NA function on the non-standard missing value. So first step, while you are dealing with the missing value, convert it into the standard function. Then if you want to replace it with a median, you can simply use the function that is field dot NA. Okay. Okay. Uh, if you don't want to convert it into the standard missing value, and if you want to change it with some value, again, in that case, you can use the loop. So if you think that, okay, I'm not trying to waste my time into converting the value of the value into standard, and I just want to take a loop. I just want to calculate. I just want to use a loop. Okay, that is also a scenario we can do that, right? Yes or no? Okay. My question is, instead of using this field.na and instead of converting all the missing value to the standard missing value, I just want to use a mean on the non-standard missing. That also we can do. So in that case, how we'll do that, or whether we can do that or not. So Yatin, your answer on this. You can speak up.
Could you repeat the question again? I just missed out here. Sorry.
Yeah, so my question is, instead of using this field.na function, so what I have mentioned is we can only use this field.na on the standard missing value. Okay, so if I don't want to use this field.na, and what I just want to do is, instead of converting all the missing value to the standard, I just want to replace all the non-standard missing value with the mean directly or with the median directly. Whether we can do that or how we can do that.
Yeah, the previous one where you use the loop with the try and accept, we can use the same one and we can put actually the value there.
Okay, Hari, your answer on this?
Yeah, whatever Yatin told, that is one way we can do that. But if we convert it into NN first and then we do this stuff, this is more optimized way, I think.
No, I'm telling you that I don't want to convert it into the standard missing value. I just want to, let's say my data set is very small and I can see there is non-standard missing value. I just want to apply a loop. I just want to replace one particular value with the mean of that particular column. So Yatin has mentioned that we can use a loop, as we have already discussed. Are we able to do in that way?
Yes, we can
Data
check
one
the val.
equal
Okay.
to the median.
Okay, so let me. This is my data set, right? This is my data set. Okay, and let me do this on my data. Okay, so let me insert one cell and the data. So this is my data set. This is my initial data set that I have. So what I want to do is I want to calculate. First of all, what I can do is I have this non-standard missing value at 7th and 8th, as you have mentioned that we can apply a loop. But before applying a loop, what I want to calculate a median first, right? Before applying a loop, first I want to calculate a median, right? So when I calculate a median with a non-standard missing value, we'll get this error. So which means if we need to convert first into the standard missing value, even though if you want to then only we can calculate the mean and median of that particular data set, that particular column. If we have any of the, let's try for the mean also, we'll get an error. If we have any non-standard missing value, we'll get an error. We can't calculate the mean and median. So given that if you can't calculate the mean and median, there is no way that we can do that. If you have the value that we are going to replace, we can't do anything after that, right? So that is why the standard, we need to convert it into the standard missing value, even though if you want to replace it with a mean and median or anything. That is the importance of this missing value session, right? Okay, then this is okay. This is very important logic that we have just discussed. So I just want to wait here. I just want to take a pause here, and I just want to ask you guys that if you have any doubt on this part, you can discuss. And I want a response from other people also, because I'm always getting a response from Yatendra, Hari, Sanjay. So, Rakesh, you have any doubt on this? If you don't have any doubts, quickly type no on the chat. Rakesh, are you there on the line? Rakesh. Okay, Rakesh, you have mentioned yes. You have a doubt or it is clear? Okay, great. Others, good to go ahead. Great. Arun. Okay, okay. So I think we are getting a good response on this missing values. Okay,
Oh,
so
so, so just wanted to just a little bit query here I have. So
yeah.
we are doing all this missing value compute means to replace the missing value and all. So just wanted to understand how this missing value is going to affect, because basically we are doing all this stuff so that with this data we can build something. So just wanted to understand how this missing value is going to affect the model which we wanted to build in future.
Okay, so let's say if you want to build a model which is going to predict whether the customer is default or not, and you are this three variable. Okay, so right now think about that. Okay, customer name is also a predictive variable, which is not an ideal case, but let's think about this. So model is you want to predict default values for a given customer based on three different variables. So these are your three independent variables, and you want to predict default. So let's say if you have a missing value in your data set, which means that the evidence that you have to create a model is reduced, right? So initially when you build a model, you have, let's say if you have an observation, 9 observation, or let's say 10 observation to build a particular model. Now let's say if you have a missing value due to which you reduce all the missing value and you get only 6 observation. So earlier it was 10 observation. Now because of the missing value, what you have done, you have deleted that particular. If you get any missing value, you delete that particular row. So the evidence that you have to build a model is reduced. Okay. So the lesser the evidence that you have, the predictive power of your model is going to reduce.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Because
So
you are not having much evidence. Also, sometimes what we want is sometimes we don't want to do anything on the missing value. Let's say when you are building a default model and you have a variable that is uh, number of, let's say number of inquiry done row, okay, or let's say number of inquiry, okay, and if the number of inquiry is missing, which means there is a new number of inquiry done. So in that case, the missing value, you just don't want to replace that particular missing values. So that is not an every time you're not going to do the same thing on the missing value. You need to understand what you want to build and what is the importance of that particular missing value. You directly can't you directly can't have the data. You standardize the missing value and you can't directly replace with mean median. Sometimes you need to keep the missing value as it is, because sometimes missing value have some set of strong information into it. Let's say that I have mentioned that number of inquiry done by the customer, and if it is missing, that the customer has never done the inquiry. And when you build a credit model, or when you build a financial model, the number of inquiry, if a customer has a zero number of inquiry, we always get that customer as a very good customer. Okay, and if the number of inquiry the customer is doing more, which means the customer is more likely to get default, because the customer more the customer want more credit. Okay, so
Correct.
this is not so. This thing you need to keep understand in this missing value concept, missing value session, that whenever you get a missing value, you don't ideally blindly go and make it as a median, mean median, and anything like that. You need to understand which model you are building and what is the requirement of that particular value. So let's say in the CC column, I have replaced it with median. Okay, and given that if I replace it with mean, my predictive power of the model would be different. So what I will do is I will try to make it with median, and then again I will try to make it from mean, and then I will check in which case I am getting more predictive power. Okay, and in whatsoever case we are getting a more predictive power, we'll take that as a replacement of our missing value. Make sense? Okay,
Yeah.
something like that. So ideally, what you can do is you can replace it with mean median, but you need to understand what is your ultimate model is and what is the importance of that particular variable is. So you need to. So that is why when you are building a regression or any model, you need to understand. You need to understand the variable. So that is why the labeling of the variable is important. Let's say if you get a data set where the labeling of variable is not there, you just have the name as variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, variable 4. In that case, you can't deduct anything out of that particular thing, because you don't know what is that particular variable and what is the missing in that particular case. Right? So that is why you need to have a good understanding on the variables that you are using. You can't directly build a model, fit a variable which is very high predictive power, and you don't know the what that particular variable means. So you can say that best approach to deal with the missing value is, first of all, you need to understand what the variable is, and then you will move on. Now, also, okay, this is also one command that you can to calculate the number of missing value that you have. Okay, let's say if you with 10, let's say if your number of observation is 9 in this case. Okay. So what you have done, you can see that customer ID is having 22% of the missing values. Customer name has no missing value. CC has 44% of the missing values, and the default has 22% of the missing value. So now, when you are applying any technique, any machine learning techniques, so ideally you have a different set of rules, and that is again, that is not an coded rule. Okay, so you normally follows that, okay, if my variable is having more than 90% of the missing values, I will drop, simply going to drop that particular variable in from my analysis, right? Because if the variable is having a 90 or 80% of missing values, you you can't get any predictive power out of that particular value. Even though if you replace that, if you even though if you replace it with any of the operations, mean, median, mode, anything, you're not going to get any predictive power of to your model. So what you will do is, if the missing value percentage is very high, so normally, I can say you in the banking sector, when we build a financial model, what we do is, if we have any variable where the missing value is more than 65%, okay, wherever the missing value is more than 65%, we simply go and drop that particular variable. We never use that variable in our analysis. So that is also one of the way to deal with the missing values. Make sense, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So now, let's say I have, okay. So now what we have discussed is, we have discussed what are the type of missing value, what exactly is a missing value, how we get that missing value. Missing value, we should not think about that missing value is just the value that is missing. And this is also one of the way that we drop that particular variable from our analysis. Okay, one of the interesting thing. Okay, now one more thing. Instead of using mean, median, and mode, let's say we have a variable like this default where we have a missing value. Okay, so now what I want to do is, I would want to replace it with a mean or median.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, now.
Oh, sorry, my connection got lost. Sorry for this. Okay. So what I was discussing. Okay, so we have discussed that. Okay, if we have more than certain amount of data, missing data, then we can replace that particular variable from our data set. And also to drop any variable, we can use a drop function. By using a drop function, we can simply drop that particular variable. So that is also one thing that I have not discussed. Uh, okay. Okay. Now what I have what was, yeah, so I was discussing about this thing that, okay, let's say if I have a variable like default in which I can't replace it with mean and median, so I can simply create a pivot table and I can see that, okay, what are the average number of response getting n and what are the average response getting y, and based on that I can, what I can do is I can replace my missing value. So in this case, the aggregate, so the average number of response getting n and y is 3, 3. So let's say if the average number of response n is getting is 90% and y is getting is 10%. So if I have two missing value, I am more like able to replace my missing value with n because the probability of n is higher than y. Okay. So again, that is also one of the way that we can replace the missing value. But again, we need to check whether it is impacting our, uh, it is giving it is giving you any marginal addition to your predictive power of the model. Okay, so that is the thing. That is the whole concept behind the missing value. Also, in some case, let's say if you have some very important variable, and in that particular variable, some part is missing. Let's say 10% of that particular variable is missing, and you know that that particular variable is very important variable. Okay, so let's say if you want to predict a sales of a particular product, and you know the price is one of the important variable, right? And you see that 10% of the 10% of the value of the price is missing, and you know that if you get the correct, if you able to get the correct value of the missing values of the price, obviously you are going to get a more predictive power of your model, right? So in that case, if you have a strong evidence that this particular variable is very important, so you can, what you can do is you can run a regression to find the missing value. So I repeat, so when you have a strong evidence that, okay, this is one of my important variable in my model, and this is going to be one of the important variable in my model, what you can do is you can run a regression to find the missing value based on all other variables. So that particular variable which is having a missing value will become a dependent variable, and all other variables that is there in the data set will become independent variable, and you can predict y is equal to mx plus c, and you can create a regression, and you, based on the regression, you can create a value for that particular value. So which means that the to to deal with the missing values, or to replace the missing value, we can use a machine learning techniques. We can use a clustering technique also. So there is a technique that is known as KNN clustering. So we can use the clustering technique also to replace the missing value. Given that you should be knowing that, okay, this variable is more important. In that condition, we are going to do. Okay. So when we'll discuss the clustering, or when we discuss the regression, uh, we'll discuss this thing that how we can do that. Okay. How we'll deal the missing, how we can deal the missing value with the ML techniques. Okay, I think that's all for the missing value concept. So I'll just quickly summarize the missing value concept that we have discussed. So in the missing value, we have discussed that we can have a standard missing value, we can have a non-standard missing value. So what we want to do is we want to make all the standard missing value as a all the missing non-standard missing value as a standard missing value. Then only we can apply uh, any operations, or we can apply any mathematical functions for that particular column. Also, we can use the is.null function or fill.nf functions once we standardize our missing values. Also, if we have a missing value that has, let's say, more than 60, 70, or 80% based on the technique that we are using, if that particular value has a missing value more than 80%, we can drop that particular variable. Also, if we have a strong evidence that, okay, this is one of my predictive important variables which has around this 10 or 15% variable, again there is no such rule for that. That is, again, you need to keep on doing, because that is the difference that you will bring when you are doing data science. Because
We are unable to hear.
hello, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my connection is getting lost because of the noise. Okay, okay, so I was just summarizing the missing value concept that we discussed. Okay, so in the case, okay, I have already discussed that we can apply ML technique to find the missing values. So again, that depends on the experience, understanding of the business. So let's say you have 2 3 data scientists working with you, okay, and everyone knows how to apply a regression on the Python, okay, and you have a data set. If you simply apply a regression on the Python, you get some output, okay. So that is, there is some to differentiate your result with other. This all things comes into the picture, that how you have prepared your data, how you deal with your missing values, okay. Business understanding do you have? Because if you have a better business understanding which model you are making, if you have a better understanding for that, then you can, let's say some person has applied a regression to deal with the missing value, and other has applied a beam to deal with the missing values. Because one person has the better understanding of the business, that okay, this variable is important for me, so that is why they have applied the regression. And obviously the result is different for the person who applied the regression, and the result would be different for the person who has applied the mean. Which doesn't mean that every time you should apply a regression, because sometimes when you apply a regression, and if that model is not predictive enough, and you are not getting any significant value for that, you are just wasting your time on that to build the model, right? You are just creating a complexity. But if your complexity is achieving some predictive power to your model, then it's a better thing to do. Okay, I think that's all for the missing value that I have. Uh, any questions from your side on the missing value? Tomorrow we'll have a section on matplotlib where we will discuss different kind of plot that is there in the data, that is there in the Pythons. We'll discuss the CBOR, we'll discuss the heat map, we'll discuss all those things. And the dataset that I have used today is there in the G drive. I will also share the notebook, this notebook. I will also keep this notebook to the same file. You just download this notebook from the similar file, and you can practice it out. Anything that you want to have? Any questions? Any query? Anything? Yatendra, are you on the line? Sanjay? Okay, so how was the content of the missing values? How was the class? A quick feedback.
It has been informative. Mainly, we went through what the different ways of filling, right? That is something we learned new. That's not applying.
Okay, that's great. Hari, Yatendra, are you on the line?
Yeah, it's informative. We got a very good understanding of missing value. Lot of missing values are there in means can be there into the data. Very informative.
Okay. Okay, then we'll wrap up the class. Tomorrow we'll discuss. Tomorrow class will mostly on the matplotlib. We'll have an example on the visualization part. And my only question for today is this one. We need to create a column which has a length of the this one particular string, length of the string in other column. So that is only one questions that I want all of you to attempt and let me know the answer tomorrow on this. And rest we'll meet tomorrow for the visualization class. Thank you guys. Thank you for the joining. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.